The surgeon is in. Former head coach David Bowden brings his football expertise to frog fans everywhere in Dissecting the Frogs.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Dissecting the Frogs. I'm your host, David Bowden, and I am, once again, fired up. It's the best time of the year. Today, the players report to camp for the TCU Horned Frogs and start practice tomorrow, and couldn't be more excited for our guest. Today, we've got a coach who's familiar with TCU in Fort Worth in your past, and we're going to jump into your journey and all those things. But he's the special teams coordinator for TCU, Coach Mark Tommerdahl. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I know you've got a lot of passions, and everyone I talk to speaks the world to you, and not only as a football coach, but as a man of faith, as somebody who really pours into his players. I know you've got a number of passions, and they're not all two-legged, are they?
No, sir. No, sir.
Tell us a little about that.
I'm a huge dog guy. And so for the last several years of my career, no matter where we've been, I make it a point to work at animal shelters. And so Sunday mornings, win or lose, I'm going to be walking dogs and picking up poop. That's what I do. And, in this day and age, what we're seeing right now, our shelters are full. I commend the people here at the Humane Society of North Texas. They've got multiple shelters around the area. They've got a massive one downtown Fort Worth off of Lancaster, and then they've got satellite units throughout the surrounding area. We got a lot of dogs right now. During the pandemic, with people at home, massive amount of dogs adopted, massive. And now with the economy, they're giving them back. And I don't see any reason why somebody should buy a dog. A shelter dog knows when it's been rescued. And in this day and age, when we hear about mental health issues and all that, doggone it, buy your kid a dog. We hear about all the pressures that our young people are under with social media and everything else. Every kid needs a dog. I believe that to be true.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And my daughter's watching this. She's 3 right now, and so she's been asking, and so I think you've
come on.
You might have got another one just right now.
Yeah, but I commend the people who volunteer and work at these shelters, because God bless them. It's a full day.
Well,
you do a great job.
Yeah, well, commend you as well. It's an amazing thing that you do, and it would be for anybody. But to be during the season, with the grind of the season as a football coach, a college football coach at a high level. To get up Sunday morning, that's got to be a lot on you.
Well, I think there's a lot of Sunday mornings where I need them more than they need me, so it's mutually beneficial.
Well, that's good. I can imagine being around someone that still loves you even after a loss.
That's right. That's right.
That's good. Well, great. Well, I want to jump into your journey a little bit as a football coach, and came, you're a small town guy from Minnesota, right? Fergus Falls, is that correct?
Okay, very well done.
Yeah, well,
You've done your research.
Well, I saw that you have, it's pretty famous because you got Otto the otter there.
It would be that would be the world's largest otter.
Okay, well, I stand corrected. I want to make sure that I got that right. That's a big deal. And so small town, you were used to that part, but went out to Wyoming and over 11 years had served in different roles in Wyoming. Tell us a little bit about that, because even though you had some small town experience, unless you've been to Laramie, Wyoming, I'm not sure people understand. It's the Wyoming Cowboys, but it's the real deal out there, isn't it?
Yeah, you're really isolated, like a lot of these college towns are. And it was a great start to my career. I stayed there for a really long time, frankly, because I didn't know any different. I thought you were supposed to just stay and work hard and build a program and keep winning. And we just had a great run there. I worked for 4 different head coaches there. And again, I really just didn't know any different. Things just kept going well. A new coach would come in, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the people I worked with. And it really helped my network, because Wyoming some view it as a tough place to live. And again, I was there for a long time. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for. But I worked with, I kept track of it. In 11 years, I worked with 66 full-time coaches. Wow. So there were people just rolling through there, but my network just was massive, really unbeknownst to me. So it was a godsend. And then the one thing I would tell you, because again, I know the reputation Laramie has. I know I've worked in Ruston, Louisiana. I've worked in Lubbock, Texas. And I know some of the stereotypes of those. Let me tell you something. You look at some of these great programs, they're college towns. I have coached in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And if I wanted to buy a shirt, I had to drive to Birmingham to buy a doggone shirt. So I think these college experiences are kind of what you make them.
Yeah, for sure. And, the other neat thing about that is you're the only show in town, right? I mean,
Right.
It is Cowboy Nation. They're everywhere. I just find it really fascinating because we're here in Cowtown and Fort Worth, right? And certainly there's that history and that lineage, and the only cattle drive that's daily in the country, which is a really neat deal. But obviously we're sitting in a metroplex, right? And so it's not true cowboy life, right? But I mean, is this something? Am I right in saying that you see horses, people riding down horses? Is that
Well, I think
rustic?
it's probably not that rustic,
Okay, all
but
right, well.
but to your point, to the point that you're making, and we use this a lot in recruiting, that's fine. This is a major metropolitan area. Okay, I think we're the 14th largest city in the country. I'm talking Fort Worth now, not DFW. And you could say this is an NFL town because of the Cowboys. That's like it's in a different world. And so the unique thing, and I think the great thing about TCU, this is in a big city. It feels like a college town. Fort Worth feels like a college town. You want to walk around here on Friday before game day, and you got purple everywhere. It seems like the Dallas Cowboys are a million miles away. TCU, in and of itself, to me, man, that's a neighborhood school. Look at all the people that walk to games. I mean, it's an awesome environment to sell because you have all the benefits of a big city, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the first thing we noticed about Fort Worth and TCU in general when we moved. We moved up here. Came from San Antonio, and the only thing they have there is UTSA, and it's but it's really not. You don't have that campus feel.
Correct.
Here, I mean, you see lawn signs everywhere,
Yep.
and the community is obviously really invested.
Yeah, and we're really fortunate because we live 2 miles from the stadium, and so we're in that neighborhood area, and it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, that's a
Feel like
special
you're part of the family.
Sure.
Yep.
And kind of this I had to write down because to track sort of you spent 11 years at Wyoming, and then from there a lot of movement,
Yep.
right? What and that's just the life of a coach, and so went back home to Minnesota from there. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so Minnesota, New Mexico, TCU the first time around with Coach Fran.
Yep.
You have Alabama, A&M's on there, ULM, La Tech, Cal, Utah State. Let's see if I can get this
Doing
right.
good, man.
I'm trying. Texas Tech.
Nope,
from there.
Purdue.
Excuse me, Purdue. I'm sorry about that. And then back
Right.
to TCU. But there's something that connects all those things, and I want to get into that. And you've been recruiting Texas high schools throughout your career.
Yeah, it's right at 30 years now. I've been recruiting Texas.
Obviously I'm sure you've been assigned some different areas throughout your career. What makes that special walking into a Texas high school in comparison to some of those others?
It doesn't compare. In the great thing about Texas, football is considered a class, as is everything else. Cheer is a class. Dance is a class. And this state, like no other, values the importance of these sports. It's a lifestyle. All the cliches that you want me to say hold true in this state. Football does provide much needed structure. It does develop character. It leads you to a better life. I believe that to be true, and people believe that here. So I walk into a field house as opposed to waiting 45 minutes for a guy to get done teaching class. They're prepared for us. Our meetings are efficient. They get what we're looking for. They're honest. I don't get sold many kids here in the state of Texas because they want me to keep coming back. So it doesn't compare to any place else. And particularly for a guy my age, this is a really good place for me to recruit. Because again, now you can go to almost any other state in the country, and you'll deal with head football coaches that aren't even in the building.
Right.
They're selling insurance and showing up for practice. So we just got done with Texas High School Coaching School in San Antonio. 16,000 coaches there. There ain't nothing else like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think one of the biggest things is the vertical alignment that happens for these football programs, because all the places you've been and throughout your great career, you know how important that is to have that alignment all the way through administration to community support. And I think you find that in the state of Texas more than any other place, right?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And high school football here is like its own separate entity. there are people who are just waiting for Friday night who could really give a rip what happens on Saturday and Sunday in football.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So let me ask you this: all that movement and just I know it could take a strain on any coach, but you've got a lovely wife who's university admin, and obviously has her own career and her own dreams. How has that been on her and the burden placed on her and moving around and what has that experience been?
Probably better if you asked her,
Right.
because her perspective is probably different than mine. But first of all, I've got a beautiful wife, and she's been extremely supportive. And she's just at an early age kind of bought into this lifestyle. She views each move as kind of a new adventure. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. She has to get a new job. She has to establish new friends. Because keep in mind now, like when I move, I'm in with 10 friends right away. I mean, I hang with the football staff. I've got my own clique, and she has to start over each time. And then there's stuff that you and I probably only think of. From bank accounts to pharmacists to dry cleaning, all that. Plus, she's getting a job. You know what I mean? She runs the day to day, so she has to start from scratch every time. So I think that's not easy. We've never had kids, and so that's a whole lot easier than most of the people I work with. We've never had to pull kids out of school, etc. So that makes it a little bit easier for us. But I think when you're married and you're working as partners, and you may have a higher purpose in this, it all kind of ties together and makes it easier. Because we're not doing this just for the paycheck or just to say we coach ball. This is kind of a calling for us, and so we're in it together.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think behind any great coach is the head coach of the household, right? And that's usually a strong wife, and obviously you've had that to support your career. I don't think it's possible to really grow and rise in this profession without that.
I agree, and I've got a great wife.
That's great. That's fantastic. I found out you're a big Bruce Springsteen guy.
That would be an understatement. There are fans and there are disciples, and I'm a Bruce Springsteen disciple.
Okay, all right, well, good. Well, I saw that he's coming. He's touring. He's gonna be here in DFW in February.
This is a timely discussion.
Okay, all right.
This interview started at 9:30.
Yes.
At 10 o'clock, my wife is in the lottery for tickets for February 10th.
Okay.
At American Airlines Arena.
Oh my goodness.
So by the time we're done,
right,
good Lord willing, we will have tickets in hand.
Are you really anxious? This is a big day.
It's been 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've seen him on Broadway, the Broadway play twice, but he has not been on tour in 6 years. So we're ready, man.
Okay. Where are some of the places that Bruce has taken you? Wherever you?
He's taking us around the world, and we're very fortunate. So we've seen him everywhere you can see him in this country. And then, we've seen him in Paris twice. We've seen him in Vienna, Milan. So I don't even know if my wife likes his music, but she likes where his music takes us.
Yeah, you're right. There you go. Good.
So we've been really fortunate.
Sure. Another benefit of having a great wife, right?
Yeah.
You get to drag around to Bruce concerts.
Yeah.
Well, good. Shifting a little bit into football, and obviously we're here. The season's upon us, and what an exciting time. As a special teams coordinator, I know that the word culture gets thrown around all the time in programs, and I have mixed feelings on it. I think that it is an overused word, but at the same time, it's critical. It's critical to have. If you're not talking about, you're not intentional about your culture, you don't think you have one, then you probably have a pretty bad culture, right? As a program. But I think for special teams, as a special teams coordinator, I think there's a real art to the culture of special teams, right? I think, how do you make special teams special, right? That's always a question. For you, what has that been like in terms of creating a culture here at TCU, particularly for special teams?
Yep. And to start that, and this is going to be a little bit redundant because I've been asked that before, but we understand coming in that there has been a really good special teams culture here. From Gary Patterson to Danny Sharp, those two guys drove a great special teams culture, and I know that because I had to coach against TCU a lot, so I get it. And they did a really good job of establishing that culture. And then, so if you look at just to break it down individually, whatever school I walk into, it's really an educational process because the days of you coming in as a kid and just kind of getting your feet wet on special teams, those days are long gone because it's just become too important and there's too many good skilled people being used. You want me to throw out some 18-year-old kid and see how he does? 6 points the other way, and we'll play young players, but they got to prove that they're ready to go. So my job is really education. I need to educate them how important this one play is, because just that mindset in and of itself is unique for some of these guys. There's no fourth down coming if we have a bad third down. I mean, we got this one shot, and they have to understand the importance of that. And so that's my job, and I've not always been successful at that. But that's what we're working on every day.
Yeah, just to teach them how volatile that can be in the kicking game. I know I'm going to get into Coach Dykes and his role in this, because any place that I've ever been, the head coach's role in the importance and how he stresses special teams and how he structures practice, right?
Yeah.
What periods in practice are special teams? If you go in somewhere, I can tell the value a head coach places on it. If they just cram all the special teams at the end of practice and it's just kind of this throwaway thing where there's not as much structure as the rest of practice. I listened to Bill Belichick. I'm a guy from Boston, follow him, and I listened to him one time, and he was a star receiver who was a gunner on their punt team, and he was complaining. He's like, "Coach, I'm tired." The sideline. He's like, "Coach, I want to run down on." He's okay, no problem. I got you. What I'm going to do is, and it was a star receiver, I'm going to rest you every third down. So every third down, you're good to go, and make sure that you can be ready to go on fourth down. He said, "Oh no, Coach, I don't." And all of a sudden, it changed real quick. But just showing how the importance, obviously he came up as a special teams coordinator, in his career with the Giants, and what has it been like with Coach Dykes and trying to set that culture?
Yeah, no complaints. And nobody chooses to recognize this. So Sonny's got this reputation of this offensive guru, air raid guy. I think Sonny sent 24 receivers to the NFL. What nobody chooses to recognize is Sonny's first job in football. He was a special teams coordinator in Kentucky. Nobody recognizes that. So he gets it. So I have no complaints. Meeting time, Sonny's in the meeting to apply that peer pressure. We have no complaints. Practice time. So now he'll come into my office sometimes and say, "Hey, Tommerdahl." but he gets it.
Sure.
So it works out really well.
Well, I think it's critical. And you mentioned something there that I think, may get lost sometimes, but the fact that he's sitting in the meetings, sure, it's tough on you. You never want to, coach the position that the head coach is coach. It's always the toughest job. But that really sends a message to the team that, I value this. This is important.
Yeah, and Sonny and I have worked together for a long time. This is like our 8th year coming up. So we play off of each other. There's no issue. I mean, I appreciate him being involved.
No, that's fantastic. Do you find in today's world, NIL world, aside from the actual specialists, kickers, punters, long snappers, but to find that gritty special team kid that because I think there's two different things. I think there's the ability to do it and the want to.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that latter one is more important, right? A guy needs to want to run down on kickoff full speed, as opposed to just have the ability to do it. Have you found it tougher? And it sounds like an old man conversation where I'm like, oh, back in the day, but with all the things going on, to get those kids to buy into that?
No, I would say, and keep in mind now, this NIL culture is about 14 months old. You know what I'm saying? So there again, I would say probably not, because it again, when you refer to my job to educate them, you want to go to the league because that's what everybody wants to do. That's fine. Go to the league, okay? And there's going to be 3 or 4 players on every NFL roster that are protected. 3 or 4. Everybody else, you're playing teams. That's just reality. So that's fine. You want to tell me you're going to the league? Then you better be on special teams. And then when you look at the gritty role, the tough kid who just is that's his role, we find those guys and we embellish them. Because, again, those guys can kind of become your core.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and sort of lead those groups, right, those units, yeah.
No doubt.
From an install standpoint, there's different ways to approach it, obviously, right? And some people like to drink from a fire hose for 3 days and then pull back their stuff, and others like to kind of take their time from install. How do you view install during camp?
We do a lot of scheme early. So like we introduced base scheme in spring ball. A lot of people have gone away from that. So our players have some polite recall of our scheme. I'm not naive enough to think that after 3 months they're going to pick it up just like that. But we have a heavy emphasis on fundamentals almost daily, and then we bleed into scheme. So to answer your question, we are part to whole quickly.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
And from a staff structure, again, this is something that varies from every single football coaching staff, but you're in charge of each unit as the point person, and then you delegate and have eyes certain places.
Yeah. So we've got a really good rule. If you're coaching on special teams, you are looking at no more than 2 players. So we've got 5 assistants on every unit, and so you want to come out and watch us coach kickoff coverage. You've got 6, myself included, middle-aged to veteran coaches running down the field with their guys.
I love it.
So we got a lot of eyes. We got a lot of eyes on not many people.
Well, that fires me up. I don't think there's more a more exciting time than that. When you're running down, especially drilling that stuff. And the other thing I don't think the average fan understands is the amount of technique that goes into. To me, it might be more than any other unit in terms of technique, blocking the punt, proper hand placement, to avoiding blocks going down the field on kickoff. So a lot of time invested in that. With those guys, obviously they have their positional duties as well. What's enticing them, or how do you work with those guys to make sure that they're still bringing that same level of enthusiasm to special teams meetings? And
there again, that's kind of my job. So I've got to generate the enthusiasm for what we do, and then a big thing. Keep in mind now, I am just coaching special teams. That's my job. I'm not coaching another position, and so throughout the day now, I can help generate that interest and enthusiasm just by getting individual meetings. So you're gonna have a hard time walking past me in the hall without me saying, "Hey, you got 2 minutes?"
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Sure, invest when they can, right, on their terms to help out.
I promise you, there are people walking down the hall with their head on a swivel just trying to avoid me.
Well, good.
They're gonna get called in.
Well, that means you're great at your job. So that's good to know. Would you say when we go back, getting back to the ability versus what's more important to you, in a guy? Hey, he coach, because every coach in the room is fighting for their guys, right?
Yeah.
They want, hey, coach, I'm telling you, he can block a punt. That's awesome. Can he, or does he want to? Right? I mean, and so how do you kind of sort that out, for guys in terms of?
We answer a lot of those questions just in the way that we train. And I know where you're going with this. You want me to say what's more important, attitude or ability, and you really got to have a combination of both. And because you can be the best athlete on the team, number one, if you don't give a good effort, you're not going to be successful. And maybe that's what you expect me to say. But secondly, you can be a great athlete and maybe you just can't do it. Maybe you're the fastest guy on the team and you're stiff and you can't stick your toe on the ground and cut to save your life. Well, then we might be asking you something that you're not capable of, to do something you're not capable of doing. So it all kind of circles around again. You have got to be a high performer to play on special teams in this league. There is hellacious talent weekly coming back at us. And so you got to be a player to be on special teams. But there again, for a long time, TCU has been a bunch of tough bastards coming at you, and we need to keep that going.
For sure. No, absolutely. When speaking of being tough and your identity, and not necessarily just a canned answer of, hey, coach, this is an interview, this is who we are. But if I walked up to some of your biggest special teams guys, what would they say your identity as a special teams units on the kicking game? What does that look like?
It needs to look like high effort all the time, and you should be able to see it from the stands. The great messengers on any team are your kickoff coverage unit and your PAT field goal block. You can see it and you can smell it. PAT field goal block, are they just taking the down off and fitting, or is it a threat to block every time? Kickoff coverage, just sit and watch, man. You got a bunch of wild dogs coming down the field, or are they analytical dudes hoping that the guy fair catches?
Right. Yeah, I've always thought, of course, the tone setters a lot of times on kickoff, but field goal block, to me, you can tell a lot about who a team is.
Yeah,
they've packed it in, or
that's the first thing that we watch. And I think, again, that's probably a canned answer. A lot of guys would probably say that, but I believe that to be true. But that's the first thing we watch because it's going to really tell me about your team.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. That's good. So how has the buy-in been since you returned it to TCU? All these things, these enthusiasm.
Yeah.
What has that been like so far?
Fine. it's fine, which isn't good enough.
Right.
And there again, as you know, it's day to day. You know, I mean, we did a special teams drill about 4 hours ago. Okay. And so it was fine. All right. Sonny's not here today. He'll call and ask me how it went. I'll say it went fine. Right. It's just not good enough yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In terms of, so there's buy-in. I'm looking at, are you coaching? This is sometimes coaches say, oh, I'm not going to coach effort. I'm not going to, but you want those guys to see, hey, they have a ton of effort, everything, it can be visual from the stands. Is that something you're actively coaching?
I think you have to. Yeah. You
You
can't take anything for granted.
Right. I think that's smart. Well, good. For us, as a recruit coach, as we start to wrap things up here, if I'm a recruit, you're obviously, this is your second stint here at TCU. We've talked about how special the campus is, how special the community is, and obviously the program. What's your sales pitch to?
Yeah, for me, I am an expert on TCU. Okay, and that's what separates me from really anybody else on the staff. I have no problem talking this way because I have seen what this university can do for you for the rest of your life. I left here 21 years ago. So the guys that I coached are now in their mid-40s. They are our boosters. And all they got to do is talk about it. Every one of them, to the man, is successful. Okay, I can't tell you somebody that's not. They take care of each other. So you enter this network, you're into a network that's going to set you up for the rest of your life. Maybe that's a recruiting line to you. I've seen it, man. I see it daily. I see it when I walk into this studio. And so that's fine. You want to talk about going to the NFL? Cool. You want to talk about your NIL deal? Good, man. Let's go get it. Okay. But all that stuff is short term. And we need to do a great job of just telling what TCU can do for you long term. And it's hard to get an 18-year-old to even think long term. Okay. I understand that. But we've got all that stuff to compete short term. We've got a good NIL program. We can get you to the league. Okay. But what are you going to do, man, when you're 26? And that's why this place is really easy to sell. And we represent a great university that can truly change your life. And you can tell by the way I'm talking, I really believe it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm ready to put on a helmet. You wouldn't take me, but I'm definitely ready.
I think you would be one of those effort guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a nice way of saying I don't have much talent, right? Well, look, it's certainly your passion for this and passion for your players. It comes through everywhere you've been and everything that you do, and it's paying off. I mean, the recruiting, there's a huge buzz right now. There's a lot of energy on campus. I mean, it's palpable. You can feel it. I mean, I've been by during your camp, and you've got a DJ out there, and people are. I mean, it's just a great vibe on campus.
I would have nothing to do with getting the DJ.
No,
so just so you make that
okay,
very clear.
All right, well, good. Well, you bring all the other energy, right? And so it's working, and there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of buzz, and we're excited to watch. And so good, best of luck to you this season as you work your way through. And you're welcome back here anytime. I'll be out at some practices, and hopefully you let me watch and
anytime. Nice job, and here we go. Let the game.
Yes, sir. Go Frogs. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Dissecting the Frogs. For Coach Mark Tommerdahl, I'm Dave Bowden. See you next time. The season's here.